This video, I'm going to be talking about the 4 things that you can do for yourself, by yourself, if you have an anxious or preoccupied attachment style. I made 2 videos previously. One outlines all the 4 attachment styles, and one goes into detail about the preoccupied anxious attachment style and how it manifests itself. So in this video, I'm going to give you specific tools, specific self-help tools that you can practice with yourself in order to get closer to what we call an earned secure attachment style. So the number one thing that you can do, and it is the most basic and the easiest and absolutely mandatorily needed if you are trying to get into the earned secure attachment zone, is to be able to question your thoughts, behaviors, and patterns. So number one is identifying that you do in fact have an anxious preoccupied attachment style. If you're watching this video, you've probably done that already. And then going into journaling out your thoughts and patterns. So to get you started, what are some frequent thoughts and behaviors that anxiously attached people exhibit? So for example, if you're in a relationship and your partner decides to go out with his or her friends without you, like a boys' night out or something, you might automatically start to think that the reason why your partner is doing that is because they want to meet new people. And then you think to yourself, maybe if you were more attractive, maybe if you were more fun, you're more interesting, then you would keep your partner's interest, and then they wouldn't go out with their friends to meet other people, right? And then your behavior might be, you might be texting your partner very frequently when he's out, you might be calling very frequently, and so then what that results in is, your partner, this kind of behaviors can kind of push your partner away, can be very overwhelming for someone, and it can cause further relationship stress. So in order to challenge, let's say, if you're dealing with something like that, you would take out a journal and write out in one column the incident, what happened, how you were behaving, what your thought process was, and in the other column, I want you to challenge that. And one of the ways that you can challenge that is you can actually think about your friends, substitute yourself for your friends. So for example, think about a girlfriend that you have that you really like and respect, and maybe her boyfriend, her partner, does he go out on his own without her? Does that mean that he's meeting other people, or is it just because he's enjoying himself? Because these thoughts and behaviors can be so deeply wired within you that it's just sometimes difficult to take yourself out of the situation. But sometimes if you substitute yourself with somebody else or pay attention to a different relationship, then you can start to challenge your thoughts, and you can start to challenge your patterns. So that's one example. Everybody is individual, and your anxiety or preoccupied attachment style can exhibit itself in so many different ways. Or for example, if your partner doesn't respond to your text message right away, or doesn't call you immediately when you call, could it mean that maybe he or she is busy at work? Maybe they're caught up in a conversation with a friend. Maybe they're just relaxing. So maybe it might not have anything to do with you or how your partner feels about you, or maybe thinking that they might be up to something no good. Maybe what are the other possibilities that are there? Another journal method to go along with this is your perception of yourself. So with the anxious preoccupied attachment styles, people have anxiety about who they are. They think fairly bad about themselves. They think that they're fairly unlovable, fairly unworthy, but they really want to be in a relationship, and they want to gain some validation, and they want to earn other people's love. So challenging those ideas, are you really that unlovable? Are you really unworthy? What are some positive traits about you? What are some things that make you great? What are some things that do make you lovable, that make you a good partner. So in one column, you write all the thoughts and patterns that are hurting you. What are some really hurtful things that you're telling yourself? And in the other column, how can you challenge that? Is that really true? You can think about yourself. If you're in that point, you can replace yourself with another person, maybe your friend. So anxiously attached people, they tend to be very kind, very loving to others, think fairly well of others, but not so much about themselves. And so that replacement can help. So you can even pause this video right now and try this journal exercise, the split method, and come back for the second thing that you should do in if you're preoccupied or anxiously attached, and that is developing kindness to yourself, self-compassion. So the reason why you have this attachment style is most likely because you were wounded. Maybe you were a little baby and your parents had maybe some traumas of their own. They didn't know how to respond to you appropriately. Maybe something terrible happened in the family. Maybe someone passed away. Maybe your parents got divorced and it was really difficult for you. Maybe your parents had somewhat of a chaotic relationship. Maybe there was alcohol or drugs abuse and you felt neglected. So you had some really, you have some really deep wounds. Maybe something happened to you when you were an adult already, like somebody cheated on you or treated you disrespectfully in a way that made you doubt yourself and that made you more anxious in relationships. And with the anxiously attached, people tell yourself a lot of negative things, a lot of negative thoughts, so you're kind of really hurting yourself. You're really not being kind. And maybe because of your attachment style too, you could have also done things in a relationship that you're not very proud of. Maybe you violated your partner's, privacy. Maybe you were really did things that were out of your character, like called somebody bad names. You were very needy. Maybe things that you're really ashamed of. And in order to deal with your anxiety, maybe you also develop maybe a drinking problem, or you eat too much. You do things that just aren't very good for you in order to maintain some form of a sense of well-being. So I want you to know that it's really not your fault. You were injured at some point, and now you're walking around with this big injury, and all you're trying to do is you are trying to establish relationships. You want to feel loved, you want to feel safe, and you want to feel secure. But because of your injury, sometimes the way that you go about establishing that sense of security is actually harming and hurting you. And so being able to view yourself with kindness and compassion, just kind of telling yourself like, well, I did this thing, or this happened to me and I felt so negative about the situation, but I'm really a worthy person and all I wanted is some love and some security, and just give yourself a little hug and pat yourself on the back and really learn to constantly view yourself from that place, from a place of kindness, from a place of compassion, because what that is going to do is it's going to start kind of changing your brain patterns to change the way that you see yourself, and that's going to help you relate to other people as well, and that's also going to just create an aura around you that is not going to, it's going to be less likely for other people to treat you unkind as well. So learning how to be kind to yourself, learning to be self-compassionate is very important, and you can also do that through mindfulness meditation techniques, through compassion meditations, things like that. But just recognizing when you have some negative thoughts about yourself, when you're feeling ashamed, when you're feeling any kind of regret for maybe what you did or what you said, to kind of take some time and say, no, it's, I'm a kind of a wounded person, and some really bad things happened to me, and so I just have to love myself at the end of the day, no matter what you did, no matter how you behaved, no matter how much you regret what you did. You still have to look at yourself from a sense of kindness and compassion, much like you do with other people. So that is the second thing to take note of. And the third, super important and quite difficult, is to learn to recognize and to tolerate your emotions, which is what securely attached people normally can do. So when you're anxiously attached, sometimes you could feel like you have, so much stuff going on that it just turns into this mumble jumble. You don't know why you're behaving this way, and you don't know why you're feeling the way that you're feeling, and it causes you to just react, and it causes you to act impulsively. So learning to recognize your emotions, and even right now, when you just kind of take a step back and you think about how your body is feeling, what you're sensing, and see if you can name the emotion that you are experiencing. And you can do this multiple times a day. Try to name your emotion. Are you feeling frustrated? Are you feeling angry? Are you feeling sad? Are you feeling lonely? What is the emotion that you're experiencing, and how does it feel in your body? So being able to recognize and name your emotions actually deactivates your amygdala, which is responsible for that kind of fear, fight, or flight, and allows you to be able to better tolerate any situation at hand. Also, you will see that once you recognize and name your emotions, they're going to pass. So the only way out is through. No matter how you're feeling, just sitting there with whatever emotion is coming to you is going to help you pass. But also, if you at some point recognize that your emotional experience is overwhelming and it's not being productive, like if you're kind of sinking into further depression, use coping strategies. So figuring out healthy coping strategies. Maybe you can go for a walk, for a bicycle ride, call your friend, whatever healthy things that you can do to get out of, deep emotions that are getting you into a depression, and kind of titrate through them. So you can use some coping strategies, but then you can also come back to how you were feeling. And the one coping strategy that you can use is, no matter what negative emotion you're experiencing, you can start to look around yourself and pay attention, for example, to the plant and to the color, and what exact color is it, and to the sounds that are around you. Start to pay attention to your environment. That's going to help you, we call it, titrate through your emotional states. So I'll even give you an example of what happened with me yesterday. So yesterday I overextended myself, and I worked out, and then I put on some leg weights, and I went for a really long walk, and I was listening to an audiobook. So I was walking for about 2 hours at that point, and I forgot to have lunch. And then I realized that I'm really hungry, and I'm also actually pretty physically tired from all this activity that I was doing. And I walked to the nearest restaurant, and I kind of knew the food wasn't going to be good there, but I was just like really tired. I wanted to sit down. I wanted to just eat anything at this point. And I sit down and I order, and it takes about 40 minutes, for my order. Like 40 minutes passed, and my food is still isn't. So I started kind of like getting really activated, like, oh my God, where's my food? And I started to just really feel not very good. Like I had just had this like anxious wave come over me, and I was kind of like furious, and I was going to tell the server, you know, cancel my order, and where's my food, and so I was like, oh my God, Sophie, what's going on? Why are you losing it right now? Like, yeah, it's okay, your food didn't come. I wasn't really in a rush. And so I was like, okay, take a time out. What are you experiencing? So I just closed my eyes. What's going on? And to my surprise, what I was feeling is I was actually feeling very lonely. And I realized that I just moved to, you know, a new place, a new city, a new neighborhood. So I don't have too many friends. I haven't really been interacting with anyone for the past few days. I've just been keeping busy. So I realized that, oh, I actually just feel really lonely. And then I thought, oh, you know, that's okay. We'll make you some friends. Don't worry about it. And then it just all went away. Just that overwhelming emotion that I was, like anxiety that I was feeling about my food coming in, and, you know, being in this place and judging myself for making a bad decision, for not having lunch on time, and overworking myself and not planning my day well, and knowing this food is going to suck, but going there anyways. It's just like, okay, you're just feeling lonely. So you see, it's paradoxical. It's a totally different experience, but because I wasn't acknowledging, you know, my emotion for that day, well, number one, I can't make a plan to solve it, right? If I don't acknowledge that I'm lonely, I can't make an effort to go and make new friends. And then two, I just have you'll have other anxieties kind of built up with you. So this is just an example of how you can go into yourself and name your emotions and be able to understand exactly what you are experiencing, and also befriend your emotions, because they're going to give you guides. They're going to tell you what you need to be focusing on and what you need to do for yourself. So that is the third thing, is recognizing your emotions and being able to process them no matter what situation you're in. And the fourth thing that you can do to help yourself is you need to have a consistent practice of being in your body. So, and being in your emotions. So finding anything that works for you. Daily meditation, it's usually an absolute, you know, mandatory must. If you just can't do that, you want to move more. Yoga is actually proven to help heal post-traumatic stress symptoms, like PTSD symptoms. And many people that are anxiously attached or have any kind of insecure attachment styles usually have suffered through some form of trauma. So doing yoga can really help. Finding yourself maybe chanting meditations, like chanting various meditations. Maybe finding yourself a spiritual group, a group of people that you can participate in various activities, getting physically active, you know, obviously paying attention to your lifestyle, what you're eating, what you're drinking, because all of that has an effect on your mind as well. So finding yourself some form of a consistent practice that would help you get into your body and be able to take time outs and figure out what your emotional state is, what you need to do to take care of yourself, what you're feeling energetically, things like that. That is going to also reshape your neural pathways, and it's going to help you feel more in tune with yourself, which is also going to help you get closer to the earned secure attachment style. So with that said, these are the 4 things that you can do on yourself, self-help. The number 1 is journaling and identifying your patterns. Number 2 is what was number 2? Number 3 is emotions. Number 4 is finding a spiritual group. What was number 2? I'm blinking out here. Okay, so, and but the most important thing, actually, and I mentioned this in my other videos, there are 2 things that you must absolutely do. So number 2 is being kind and compassionate to yourself, of course. So 2 things that you need to do. The one is the self-help, working on yourself, increasing your self-awareness. So I just went through that. And two is you absolutely need to be in a relationship. You cannot earn a secure attachment style if you are not in a relationship, because your attachment system is not activated. So you need to be in a long-term relationship with someone with whom you're working through these issues. And it could be a therapist. Just find yourself a therapist and work with that therapist for a long time. I would recommend to look for a therapist who is psychodynamic or somatically oriented, relational style therapist over cognitive behavioral therapist if you're experiencing these attachment issues. Talking about this with your friends, maybe finding a support group, knowing that there are other people that are just like you and they're having very similar struggles. And you might not see that because they don't appear to be that way, but they do have these struggles. So knowing that you're not the only one, other people like you, like through groups, and being in a relationship. Unless it's your life goal to be single and you really enjoy being single, that's fine. But never close your door to potentially finding a partner if you do want that, because you never want to wait until you're good enough. That is very anxious style of thinking, like, oh, when I'm going to lose the 15 pounds, then maybe I'll be attractive enough to find someone, or once I finish working through these attachment issues, or once I work with my therapist, or once I take that medication, then no, you should always, if you're single, you should always keep an eye out for a relationship, because they can come at any time, and those relationships are going to teach you very valuable lessons, and they're going to actually help you with your with earning a more secure attachment style. If it's a healthy relationship. If it's obviously an unhealthy one, then that's a whole different story for a whole other video. So subscribe to my channel, because I am going to be making more videos about how to help yourself heal your attachment styles, all the attachment styles, more videos on how to be able to process and tolerate your emotions. Make sure to hit the notification button so that you know when my videos are going to come out. Also, in the links below, check out my 8-week workshop for adult children of alcoholics. If you grew up in a family that maybe there was too much alcohol or drugs involved, it's an 8-week program there. You can also sign up to one-on-one coaching with me and find the link below for that. And I hope you're having a great week. Until I see you next time.